wherever you are. I'm pleased to be here for our eighth Book Baby Live broadcast. I can't believe we made it through seven of them, and here's number eight. And today's show is going to be maybe a little bit more forceful, perhaps, than some of the others, because I'm going to give some advice I feel very strongly about, almost as much as editing, as some of you may know. This is about designing your book and about why you should leave it in the hands of professionals. So I'm thrilled to go through this with you. It's going to be a lot of images, so get your eyes out there. Before we go any further, though, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. Tell me where you're from so I can add a little context and color. That'll be fun. So without further ado, let's go. So this is really pretty simple. Go pro or go home. All right. I'm going to strongly urge you, you must hire professional designers to create your book. And when I say create the book, I'm not just talking about the cover, but I'm not talking about the words, of course. I'm talking about really the whole, this whole important thing that you have been working on for so long, this creation of yours. Let these professionals have their hand in it. So let's go forward here. All right. If I can get my clicker to go. Here we go. Let's try that. Well, once you know, we have technical problems. There we go. Finally. Sorry about that. So a little about me. I'm now in Book Baby's now in year number 11. I've been president for most of that time. A little tidbit about me. I financed some of my college education, believe it or not, growing gourmet veggies for the San Francisco market. My family was in agriculture. We talked with this guy who would run produce trucks down to San Francisco. He told me about these crazy foodies in California this is back in the 80s, dates me. They like the exotic vegetables. So I would grow corn with blue kernels or red and yellow kernels or black and white even, and sell them for an outrageous amount and finance of my college education. And I think most importantly about my background is I am a self-published author. So I know your pain, I know your triumphs, I know the process, and I think I'm pretty well qualified to talk you through some aspects of it. All right. So today, what we're going to do, as we do almost every time, is we're going to have 30 minutes total, 15 minutes on my topic. Usually it's about self-publishing or sometimes book marketing. This time we're going to talk about design. And then I'm going to have some time for your questions. So again, fill up the comments area, please, early as you can, so I can make sure I get to the questions. We might run over if the questions are great. So I'll leave it on to you. And oh, by the way, all the coverage you see on this slide and all the others are done by our Book Baby designers. So if you get some idea of how important we feel it is, we like to feature those. Finally, one more thing, one lucky attendee will be selected at random to receive a 15-minute publishing consultation with me. I will tell you they never go 15 minutes. I think the shortest one has been about 45 minutes because I love this. I love talking with authors. So how do you get qualified for this? You share this video and tag a friend in the comment section, and you're automatically entered to win, the consultation. Finally, one more thing, just some housekeeping before we get going. We have a Facebook authors group. It's the Book Baby authors group. We have almost 1,000 people in it now. I urge you to get in there and join it. Push us over 1,000. Very lively discussion. This is not a commercial, believe me. This is not a bunch of Book Baby folks, directing it. No, it's really author to author, a lot of peers. We pop in occasionally just to see if there's some things we can answer. Strongly urge you to do that. All right, let's get moving then. Again, go pro or go home. I can't stress this enough. Eye-catching is going to be a word you're going to hear a lot too, because this is your opportunity to find readers who eventually may turn into buyers. And this is a process that is critically important to your success. Now, we as authors, we're told that we should show how something works in a passage. We shouldn't tell that the dog is excited. No, you say the dog is barking furiously. Well, this is truly going to be about show and tell, because it's hard for me to tell this is a bright, vibrant red, or this is a thrilling pink. No, I'm going to need to show you some things. So I'll try to go slowly and point things out. And again, you'll be able to replay this later as well, so you can get some more context. I promise not to use that cliche about, judging. No, I won't go there. But look, your cover is critically important, and it's getting more so than the days of when we used to browse in bookstores. And I tell you, I love me my indie bookstores, no question about it. And brick and mortar shopping was fantastic, and I could find myself whiling away afternoons and mornings and entire weekends practically sitting and perusing books. It's just not where you need to be marketing though. And having that as your primary source of having people pick up your book and feel the weight and look at the paper and the printing. Over 80% of the book purchases are going to be done online. And you know that number is only going to go up. So you need to think digitally. You need to think about what's going to happen in that little small space on the page that looks like this. How are you going to get people's attention by having those tiny pixels serve as your first, your second, all of your impressions, truly, unless people care to click on something. So truly, you've got to have the strong design to get noticed by readers, and that needs to be done by a pro. Catch their eye, catch their eye. You've got to do that. Now, I have nothing against do-it-yourself for a lot of things. It's important. There are a lot of things about being a self-published author that you could absolutely do yourself. All right. So I say, car oil changes, great thing to DIY. Not for me. Simple plumbing, not hard stuff. Cooking. I love to cook. Total DIY. Here's some things on the no to DIY. Brain surgery, don't advocate it. And also in the same important cover and interior book design. This has got to be left to the professionals, and I'm going to show you why in the next 10 minutes or so. All right. So what can go wrong with DIY designing? First thing I see is using free cover design templates. Oh my. You see those, they're out there, they're cheap. You're able to just download a few words on it, and you can tell. I've seen 4 or 5 books that have the same exact template, and you know they went to the same place. It's destined to fail in the digital marketplace. All right. Second thing is, and I'm going to extend the DIY to maybe the sister-in-law who graduated from, the Philadelphia School of Design. Not that I have anything against the Philadelphia School of Design, but if they don't have the experience to actually do book covers or book design, they really can't help you. They're good for all kinds of other things, web advertising or billboards or flyers. You've got to have somebody who knows about book covers because it's a tight little niche. Okay. Next thing is, if you go out there and try to do some covers, we see what we experience is they're either way too busy or they're way too sparse. There's a balance. And when you've looked at covers all your life, as I have, and our designers have, you'll know that it's instantly saying, you know what? This could have been changed. This could have been helpful. Okay. Next thing is about color. And by the way, I got a question about color earlier, so I'm going to go through it a little bit earlier. There are truly genre-specific color norms in books. Again, I encourage you to download this later on so you can look at it. So blue, we see these for political memoirs and nonfiction. It's about trust and calm, apparently. White is purity. A lot of self-help books, very simple books. They use white as a dominant feature. Black, of course, serious and mystery, death, and used in horror and thriller, mystery genres and things like that. All right. Red is angst and passion, horror thrillers, of course, your romance novels, got to have red. Yellow, we see a lot of happy colors, motivational, feel-good books and self-help. And then green, that's the nature book. That's the maybe some high fantasy novel, environmental nonfiction. And frankly, people want to say, well, I want my book to stand out as a political memoir, so maybe I'm going to do it all in green. Well, that's fine. I'd love to go against the grain in some things. This is an area where readers have certain expectations. They expect their romance books to have red in them. They expect their intrigue books to have a certain color and a certain look. This is where you need to stay within your lane. Okay, stay within it. And again, an interior designer, a professional designer is going to know that. All right. And then finally, and this is a huge one too. You are not just doing a book cover. All right. You are advertising on the web. Your cover needs to be translatable for a book and also for those tiny little squares on the web. So unless you really know, what you're doing, this is what can truly go wrong. All right. Now, I don't like to go negative here, but every once in a while, I do want to say, I have to point out some of the things that we have seen. I believe all of these are actual real book covers that just didn't make the mark. And pretty much can assure you that these are DIY. None of these were done by BookBaby. None of these were done by our designers. But you can see that, there are some problems here that are probably not going to be immediately picked up, from Amazon. I don't know if that one on the right is a real book cover, but it was just too funny not to put in there. All right. And then, I like cats. Probably not a good idea to put them featured on the cover. And I don't know what's going on the right. So anyway, I don't like to go negative, but it is kind of fun to see some of these book covers that are out there. But truly, this is my thesis. It's cover design is a niche. It's got rules. It's got requirements, and it's really based upon the genre. And a pro book designer will know this. So I hope you're convinced by now that you need to go pro. Well, the next step is going to be, so how do you find it? And I promise these are not commercial. These live sessions are not commercials for BookBaby. I do know we have 25 designers now working for BookBaby around the globe practically, who are very experienced in all areas. But if you don't choose BookBaby, it's not going to hurt my feelings. We work with a lot of people who have their own pro designers. So here are the 5 things you really need to do. There are many others, and there are great articles on our blog to help you find a designer, but I don't have time to go too deep in there. But these are the 5 most important things, right? So how experienced are they with covers, not just design, like I mentioned about the sister-in-law? They have to have had done dozens, if not hundreds of covers in the past. Custom covers, not templates, all right? Next thing is, how experienced are they with your genre, all right? I would really want to, if you're writing romance novels, you've got to get a person who has done other romance novels and see the examples, okay? Third is really important. Are you willing to work until the client is happy? First attempts, who knows? They might nail it the first time out, but frankly, it's going to be pretty rare. There's going to be something, I want the red to be darker, or I want the cat to be smaller in this picture, or whatever. They need to work with you and do iterations and do rounds of proofs. That's important. Fourth thing is kind of basic. Who owns the cover art? I've heard horror stories where someone has engaged a designer from outside, and after a couple of years, the designer says, okay, now you need to pay me royalties for the cover design I designed for you 2 years ago. Now, you need to make sure that it's a work for hire, you own the cover. And then finally, of course, this is pretty obvious, how much will it cost? Cover design can be quite expensive. It doesn't need to be quite expensive. It does need to be done by pros. So Fiverr is probably not going to be the place you're going to find a great designer. But it's an incredibly important investment for your book. I would say it's number 2 behind editing, but it's close. It's 1 and 1A. It's really important, I think. By the way, Gina and Amy are 2 of our designers who do tremendous work and have done literally hundreds, if not thousands, of book covers on their own. So I truly believe that, of all the things now, you can have a great book, you can have a great editing job, you can do marketing, but if you don't have a wonderful cover, you're not going to sell books. So let me turn that around to the positive. Get a great design and you will sell books, all right? They can create a unique look for every single cover. And again, these are all done by our staff here. But again, there are a zillion other outside designers. So I'm not going to say that we're exclusive in our talents. A lot of people can make great designs, okay? They understand the use of color. Now, this is not an area that I could be even approach. I mean, these folks really understand how colors balance and what mood you're supposed to get with, the use of shading and things like that, really. And they're experienced, especially in the genres. And you need to make sure, once again, to make sure the genre is an important part of your selection. The creativity that you can do, and it's 80 pixel by 115, is the size of those tiny little thumbnails on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Bookshop, and everywhere else. They've got to make sure that's top of mind, that it's going to, if you can't see all the words at first glance, at least you're going to grab an attention, like that beautiful blue and green bird. Someone's going to take another look at that, and then be able to click into it and dig down. We get some examples of folks who have published their books with us. They've done it themselves, and they were pretty happy with the attempt, but the sales weren't so great. So they come to us and say, look, do we just do cover design? By the way, we do. So here was a before of American Blueberry, Lies and Dead Wives, and that was the cover done by the author. So we took it and said, I think we can do a little bit better. This is what we came up with for her paperback. Much more engaging, a lot more elements happening, just a lot more fun on there. And I think she was extremely happy with that result. The other half of the equation is a little harder to explain. So covers are terribly important. Interior design is like closing the sale, all right? And even in Amazon, you can do the look inside and you can see the interior of the books and things like that. And it's hard to describe what cover formatting is. So I'm going to go to, of course, my favorite go-to example is comparing interior design to pornography. In his concurring opinion in the 1964 Joe Bellis versus Ohio case, Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart delivered what has become the most well-known line related to the detection of pornography. He says, "I know it when I see it." Well, folks, you know interior cover or you knew interior book design when you see it. All right, it's professionally laid out. It enhances the words to make it just as beautiful to read as it is to experience the actual words. And we have all seen books that have not been formatted correctly, and it loses something. Is that going to mean that you're not going to sell books because maybe the cover is beautiful but the interior is not? Well, you might have a hard time selling book number 2 and book number 3 if it's that kind of a clunky experience. So, it really is an incredibly important part of the overall piece of the book. The hierarchy, the typefaces, the layout that's inviting. Again, we have a lot of great examples. This is a little blurry. I grabbed it off our website this morning. Again, this was the original pagination done by an author, and we turned it around to something a lot more interesting with a cover and a nice, table of contents and just laying the type out. And it's examples like that again, make that book into a really special thing. And finally, I want to hit one more key point. Whoever you choose as a designer, BookBaby or not, all right, there's some really important things that you need to understand in that relationship. They won't read your book. And I don't care how much you beg them, they're not going to read 300 pages of your book to get what they need. And you know what? The thing is, they don't need to. Now, if you have a book synopsis, 1 page that you've written and sent over, absolutely. They will look at that and quickly get the tone, what you're trying to get through, all right? Communication is a real key to this relationship. Collect your favorite covers in the hopes of, these are kind of your cover gold. Nobody's going to, copy them or imitate them, but you can give them a great idea of these are the kinds of things you like and the things you think your book needs, all right? Give them the context, the mood, the feeling, all right? They should have a questionnaire or a set of questions for you as the author. That's one of the things you're going to know if you're working with a good designer. They're going to come to you with questions, and maybe it's a prepared thing. And finally, don't just accept the first draft. Don't be polite, all right? If the book cover does not look perfect to you, this is your one chance. You can do another cover, of course, but it's your one chance to get that book out there. It's got to be great. Insist upon it to be great, okay? All right. So again, just to sum up, GoPro, this is the place where you don't have to invest a ton of money, but you need to invest money. Make it as good as it reads. I know that's probably not great grammar. Look, designers, this is what they do all day long. They don't do posters. They don't do other graphic design. They do covers. They know what they're doing. They have probably in their history, they've seen hundreds of thousands of covers. They know what you're going to need. All right. And again, I don't think I said eye-catching too many times. I should have. Eye-catching. There, that's 8 times. That's what it's all about. You've got to grab the attention and go out there and find a designer who will do that for you, okay? I like to end these things with a bit of a nice note, especially from Dorothy, who we have a lot of people coming to us for the first time. I wanted to read this one. So once I decided for the first time to write a book and to self-publish, I did a lot of research on publishers. It was intense. BookBaby came out on top in each category. I'm glad I did the research. I'm glad I found BookBaby. The journey has been sweet. The customer service personnel has walked me with every step of the way and continues to walk with me, making the journey more exciting and less stressful. All right. I found that this publisher to be fair, and what was promised is what was given without hesitation. I refer this published to others who desire to write a book. Thank you very much, Dorothy, for that. Now we have reached the end of our season for BookBaby Spotlight, our podcast. It really has turned into a fun series with Sam and his friends doing interviews with authors, illustrators, self-publishing folks. I'm even in a couple of them. So wherever podcasts are available, look for the BookBaby Spotlight. Okay. All right, so finally, and I have to go to Elf for the seasonal. It's Christmas time almost here, so I had to go with that motif. That'll give it away. Let me take a look at some of the questions which have come through. All right, so I'm going to go from the bottom here. Rich asks, does BookBaby write a summary of the book for, say, Amazon? How long is best for the review for potential buyers? Okay, no, we do not. We do not do original writing of a summary. However, we do have a service called metadata optimization. Sounds like it's very complicated. It's really not. We will take what words you've written about the book. Again, we didn't write the book. We didn't read the book, but you've written some paragraphs about the book. We will shape them up. We'll add, we'll look at the grammar, of course, and things like that. We'll punch them up and to make them, as strong as possible. We do have a book synopsis service as well, though, which is much more extensive than just the book metadata optimization. If you really need more of a professional piece, a lot of people use that when they're trying to go to a traditional publishing house. They need a synopsis to send out to agents and to publishers. So both those services are available from BookBaby. All right. Here we go. What do you think about a children's book, physical, with with QR codes, or go to videos so kids can have physical book versus digital book? The videos are crucial to the story. So it's interesting. At the advent of the ebook, what we were thinking was going to happen, all the pundits, and I wasn't a pundit at that time, I was an observer. They thought, now ebooks are going to turn to this interactive thing with all kinds of videos, and will really supplant anything about print. Well, that really hasn't happened. There has to be a lot of content for that to happen. So the effort made to provide content of videos and extras for ebooks just really has not been a thing. I would say we have done maybe a few dozen projects during the course of our 11 years at BookBaby. It just hasn't, the juice has not been worth the squeeze. I would say, just to kind of restate your questions, if you have QR codes on a physical print book and you've got something on a website that's already done, that's perfectly acceptable. That's great. QR codes, who would have known they're making a comeback? I think they're being called flow codes now in some fancy websites. But I think that's a great way to get people involved, a little bit more extra matter for your book rather than trying to link it from an ebook. Okay, let's see. Jennifer asks, what's a good price for book cover design? Oof, that's tough. It really depends on how simple the book is going to be. We now have one price on our website, and that covers everything from proofs and a long questionnaire and your ability to interact with the design team and things like that, and iterations back and forth. You don't like this, you don't like that. By the way, both ebooks and printed books, you need to consider that, and we feature one price for that. I think it should be under $500. But if it's under $100, I'd start to question really how much you need. Now, look, some simple children's book, or if you have a very simple idea, it might not need a lot of the techniques and shading. But there's really no easy answer to that. But no, this is not a $2,000 expenditure. Under $500 should be quite sufficient. Okay. Joanne asked, does BookBaby have any legal services, offer any consultations regarding legal situations? The only thing that we kind of abut to the legal side of things is copyright. Now, copyright, I could go on for a whole 15 minutes just about copyright, but I'm not going to. That'd be boring. That's the only area that we sort of brush up against legalities. We are a self-published services provider. We're not a publisher. We don't need to be involved in a lot of these legal entanglements, as it were. But we do offer a service called Cosign, not affiliated with BookBaby, other than they're a partner, and we send clients to them for copyright registration. So that's about the extent. I would recommend, though, there are I would start first, if you need some legal advice pertaining to the book, start with organizations like Ally, the association. I forgot what the acronym stands for. Just type in Ally Book Publishing Association in a Google search. Start with some associations to have some resources. You'll find some folks who could probably help you out with those kinds of questions. Okay. Now I'm going to start at the top. Which is better, traditional or indie publishing? Oh, come on, David. Really? You asked that question? I could do an hour-long presentation on that, and it'll be all about self-publishing. No, that's really not true. Look, we've actually had a lot of BookBaby authors who started by self-publishing, got discovered by traditional publishing, and was happy with that arrangement. They didn't want to do some of the things that are associated with um, uh, indie publishing. They didn't want to be the contractor for their job. They didn't want to have all the say about their cover or who their editor was going to be. If you ask me, I think the only reason that someone would want to go into traditional publishing, all things being equal, is ego, just so that they could go to their high school reunion and say, "Oh, I've got signed to a publishing deal with Simon and Schuster," and that's great for that one night. Otherwise, the advantages of self-publishing, especially as the days go by, and more of those little tiny pixel images on Amazon you see, they're more self-published there than you can imagine. So sorry, I've got to lean hard into the self-publishing world, but that's just me. Okay, Rich asks, is there any help with getting copyright permission for pictures in public domain? Ooh, again, not an area we delve in directly. Same advice as the other. Look for some organizations that do help on that, and there are a number of websites out there now. As I'm thinking about them, I don't recall them offhand. If you want to, by the way, if you need any backup information to any of these answers I'm providing here on the fly, I can do a little research for you and get back with that. And you'll see it on the next slide where I give you some information. Okay. Is there any way to insert stickers in BookBaby published book? Is there a way to sell them separately on another site? Okay. So stickers, no, we're not doing that currently on our books. It's just nothing that's been in demand for us. So we're really not set up there. Is there a way to sell them separately on another site? Well, when you go with BookBaby, you're on many other sites, and yes, you can sell them on your own site. And we have, of course, your own bookshop page that we provide for all of our distributed authors. We put it up there for you. You can add more content to it. You can get, buyers' email addresses to start your email list. There's a ton of stuff you can do with your bookshop page. And so, rather than try to set up something on your own, just have the link pointing to us for the selling page. You'll get the highest returns. You get 50% royalty on print books and 85% royalties on your ebooks that are sold through Bookshop. Other advantages for Bookshop, I can't help it because it tis the season. You're buying directly from the printer. The book doesn't have to go to a warehouse, which is maybe shipped to Amazon and maybe gets in time. No, you're going direct to us, so it's going to be on time. It's in stock 24/7, and you as the author, you get paid within a week. If your mom buys your book on a Tuesday, the money will show up on the very next Monday in your account of what she purchased. So a lot of advantages to Bookshop. Okay, one more. Bartlett asks, I have a 31,000 word career memoir, which is ready for the next step. Editing, how do I start? Well, we have an editing services. There are many other great editing services. Like I say, this is not a BookBaby commercial, but I am going to tout our own editing service, which is really kind of makes it easy for you. We have editors of every single genre you can think of, standing by, ready to do work. It's very easy to upload it into our system, and within 7 to 10 days, you'll get your material back, either line copy editing or basic proofreading. I don't suggest proofreading as your first round of editing. It probably needs a line or a copy edit. Some people opt to do a copy edit and then they come back just before they're ready to submit the book into production for a proofreading. Highly recommend that because you know what? The more eyes that can be on a book, the absolute better. Okay. John Egan asks, good color for a memoir. Oof. Well, you know what? It's going to depend upon the memoir. If you've had a romantic history, you'll have it look like a romance novel. It's really going to have to. That's something you absolutely work with a pro designer on. Tell them what the memoir is. Is this a war memoir? Great. Business memoir? It's going to be a little different. So yeah, it'll probably depend upon the industry. What you were doing, and that's how that would be. Okay, I think that is going to be the end of our broadcast. And by the way, we have a winner of Kim Ratliff, who is going to be doing the publishing consultation with me. Kim, I will get in touch with you in the next few days, and we can set up that talk. So I say, don't count on 15 minutes. It's going to be probably 45 minutes to an hour because I really enjoyed this. So, again, if you have more follow-up questions than what we covered here, or if I didn't get a chance to it, send me an email. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. I get a lot of emails every day, so have a little bit of patience. But I hope that today I've impressed upon you the need for really professional designer to work on your book. And with that, I will say goodbye until the next time we meet again here at Book Baby Live broadcast.